المتحدثون يتواصلون في الحضور على مسرح هذا المؤتمر، مؤتمر التميز التشغيلي. في أكثر من مرة نوهنا وننوه محبة وشكرا وتقديرا لكل الذين يتفاعلون مع المؤتمر ومع الهاشتاج الموجود في تويتر مؤتمر التميز التشغيلي. وهذه بعض النماذج من التغريدات الموجودة على الهاشتاج. تغريدة لمعالي وزير الشؤون البلدية والقروية والإسكان يقول فيها تحت عنوان التميز التشغيلي نحو اقتصاد مستدام في المنشأة الحكومية والخاصة. سعدت اليوم وهو اليوم الأول للمؤتمر بالمشاركة في الجلسة الحوارية مع أخي معالي والمنشن لمعالي وزير البيئة والمياه والزراعة في مؤتمر التميز التشغيلي، وتحدثت حول تطور الخدمات في الوزارة تحقيقا للتميز التشغيلي. أيضا في الهاشتاج المغرد سامي يقول شكرا للمدراء التنفيذيين والمتحدثين الذين أثروا المؤتمر بتجاربهم وخبراتهم وتميزهم في قطاعاتهم المختلفة. أهلا بكم في السعودية. شكرا سامي. عبد الله بن إبراهيم أيضا أحد المتابعين عبر الهاشتاج يقول جميل وجود مؤتمر بهذا الحجم وبهذه الفائدة، خصوصا أن رفع الكفاءة في العمليات هاجس كل منظمة. مؤتمر التميز التشغيلي. شكرا حقيقة لكل من غرد ويغرد في هذا الهاشتاج. شكرا لكل من تفاعل مع مؤتمر التميز التشغيلي عبر الصحافة، عبر الإعلام، عبر مواقع التواصل، أو حتى عبر الحضور هنا في مقر إقامة الجلسات الحوارية. الطاقة وما أدراك ما الطاقة، المحرك الرئيس والكبير والمؤثر الأكبر اليوم في اقتصاد العالم كله. سنشاهد الآن عرض حول مزيج الطاقة المتغير في المشهد العالمي. حول هذا العنوان والعرض سيحدثكم أحد المختصين الذين نستقبله هنا على المسرح. رحبوا معي بالمختص في التخطيط الاستراتيجي والسياسات في وزارة الطاقة في المملكة العربية السعودية عبدالرحمن العنزي.
Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abdalrahman al-Nizi. I am an energy specialist and I work at the Ministry of Energy in the policies and strategic planning. I help in preparing the government's position on sustainable issues that impact the energy industry. So the topic of energy transition seem to be in the front and center for global companies. Not a day passes by and we don't see a headline on it. According to Forbes, the biggest global companies have all declared a net zero target. They represent an annual sales of around $14 trillion. So these companies, what do you think have in common? Well, of course, they are all large oil and gas producers, but it turns out that each and every company of the listed companies have all declared a net zero target by 2050. Rizbul, in fact, was the first oil and gas company to declare such target, and the remaining oil and gas companies have followed suit with small caveats. And the list of companies that have declared a net zero target by 2050 goes well beyond oil and gas companies and energy companies. So let's take the three examples and deep dive into their emission reduction plans and look at the goals that they have set. Saudi Aramco, which has already one of the lowest upstream carbon intensity globally, have declared a net zero target for its scope 1 and 2 operations by 2050. It has also set a goal to eliminate the routine flaring by 2030. British Petroleum also have stated to have a carbon reduction targets for scope 1 and 2 to have a reduction of 30 to 35%. and 35 to 40% reduction targets to eliminate for Scope 3 by 2030. Also, ExxonMobil have declared that they will reduce their methane emissions by 15% and also their gas flaring by 25%. So by looking at these examples, you can make an argument that these companies have made a considerable investment commitments towards to become less carbon intensive. And they have all set a dramatic plans to change their portfolio and reduce their carbon footprint in the future. So the key takeaway from this slide is that while all these companies have declared such target, the path and the frame that each company have taken is different, and hence is company specific and is customized. So we talk about this energy transition a lot, and so let's take a step back and really look what is this coming transition all about. What we need to realize is that energy transition is not new. We've had actually successfully transitioned in the past. There was the first energy transition, which was basically burning easily accessible materials, such as firewood, to produce fire and heat, to burning coal. And we all know that coal stimulated the industrial revolution, and there were the steam engines, and there were the heating homes from coal, and there was, of course, the industrial manufacturing. So in fact, we can say that the first energy transition triggered the first energy transition triggered the first industrial revolution. And then there was the second energy transition, and it was when we discovered crude oil and found a way to refine it economically and used it across all aspects of our lives to make our lives better. It has also created the world's personal transportation industry and made the world's economy more efficient. It also had the benefit of finding a less carbon-intensive fuel compared to coal. And there we have the third energy transition, which is the emergence of natural gas. And while the source of this fuel is not as transportable as crude oil, its abundance and the fact that it has a less carbon footprint makes it a very attractive fuel source. So we can make a couple of observations from the previous energy transitions. These transitions have all occurred over a long period of time, and they all were driven by economic factors. They all made our lives better, and they have all advanced our economy. We can also make an argument that the energy, the fuel that was discovered from the second energy transition onward was less carbon intensive than the preceding one. Although we might not have reduced the overall consumption and thereby reducing the overall carbon emissions, but we have transitioned from one fuel to another. So we can establish the fact that energy transition is not new, and we have successfully transitioned from one fuel to another. So it will be natural that the new sources of fuel that will emerge will be less carbon intensive than the previous one. However, environmental sustainability and using less carbon intensive alone will not drive the next energy transition. The economics have to be balanced, and we should note that around 10% of the world's population still do not have access to a reliable source of electricity. And hence, which means that a secure and an affordable source of power has to reach to these in the globe. And on that regard, several world organizations have proposed a balanced approach to energy transition. In the case of the United Nations, for example, and in their 17 interlinked sustainable development goals, we have number 7, the affordable and clean energy, and number 13, climate action, which is at the heart of the energy transition. The World Economic Forum also has this concept of the balance of the energy triangle, where security and access and economic development and growth is also one of the key pillars to energy, for the energy, in addition to obviously the environmental sustainability. Also, the World Energy Council proposes the framework of the energy trilemma, and we have two components which are the energy security and the energy equity, which are considered to be also important. So we've talked about the energy transition, that it is something that we have experienced in the past, and it has to be a balanced one. The energy transition has to be a balanced one in addition to environmental sustainability. So with this mandate and pressure in reducing the emissions, especially on the upstream energy companies, there are a sweep of options and ways to reduce options. But the challenge is finding the one or the appropriate package that makes sense or for that energy company in a way that makes value for them and for the shareholders. Obviously, in the options, we have options that are more closer to operations. We also have options that are technology oriented, and some are more commercial than the other. And we also have, in some cases, we have options that require some changes and modification in the current carbon-intensive asset, and may require shutting it down or switching to a less carbon-intensive fuel in the operations. We should also note that the options and challenges to achieve net zero and decarbonize in the upstream operations is quite different to what is being experienced in the downstream, as the set of sustainability standards or targets is different and moves at a different pace. So in a nutshell, we can make the following remarks. While the topic of energy transition is capturing the view of various companies, it is still uncertain how the net zero will evolve with time. According to different scenarios and different experts in the market, there are still quite a lot of variation between the different scenarios that we have today, a variation that can go up to a factor of 2 in terms of the energy consumption from fuel, from a hydrocarbon-based fuel in the medium term. Also, over the past few years, more upstream sectors or more energy companies have invested heavily in the clean energy technologies. But we should note that specific investments vary with company size, types, and the core market that they operate in. Also, we anticipate that the gas will be, which is the third energy transition. We expect it to be an important contributor to the current energy transition, with an increased share of the global energy mix as the need for gas to serve as a backup for renewables will increase in the future. Also, developing organizational energy transitions is complex, as there are many uncertainties, many unknowns, and we have to consider non-traditional metric decisions, such as the carbon intensity, as well as the carbon emissions. And what is more important is that there is no single or perfect strategy to win this energy transition race, but companies with strong financial capability is projected to embrace this energy trace first, or embrace it to a high degree level. Thank you all for your attention, and wish you all a blessed day.
كل الشكر والتحية والتقدير للمهندس عبدالرحمن العنزي. أدعو الأستاذة منال الماضي، وهي مدير إدارة تطوير الشراكات في المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة، لتقديم هذا التكريم للأستاذ للمهندس عبدالرحمن العنزي على هذا العرض الذي قدمه لنا وأضاف به كثيرا إلى محتوى هذا المؤتمر. تفضل مهندس. هل الاستثمار في البحث والابتكار نافع ومفيد ومجدي؟ ما الأثر الذي يمكن أن يصنعه في التميز التشغيلي؟ وما فرص الاستثمار التي يمكن أن تخلق في هذا الجانب، بالإضافة إلى الفرص المتاحة الآن؟ هذه الأسئلة تبحث عن إجابة، لكن انتظارها لن يطول، فالجلسة المقبلة لا يتوقع منها أن تحمل الإجابات فقط، بل أن تقدم قراءة مستقبلية أيضاً لفرص من هذا النوع. أدعوكم معي إلى الترحيب بضيوف الجلسة الحوارية القادمة. رحبوا معي بنائب الرئيس التنفيذي للخدمات المشتركة في الهيئة السعودية للملكية الفكرية، الدكتور عبد العزيز القباع. الجلسة تأتي تحت عنوان الاستثمار في البحث والابتكار وأثره في التميز التشغيلي. رحبوا معي بنائب الرئيس للابتكار في جامعة الملك عبدالله للعلوم والتقنية، السيد كيفن كولين. رحبوا معي بالمشرف العام على إدارة المشاريع المؤسسية في مدينة الملك عبد العزيز للعلوم والتقنية في المملكة العربية السعودية، المهندس زياد الريمي. رحبوا معي بالمستشار في وزارة الطاقة في المملكة العربية السعودية، المهندس أيمن مفتي. ورحبوا معي للمرة الثانية في الجلسات الحوارية في هذا المؤتمر برئيس قسم التكنولوجيا في أكوا باور في المملكة العربية السعودية، بارت بوزمانز. كما نرحب بمديرة هذه الجلسة، الرئيس التنفيذي والشريك المؤسس في شركة M&C الاستشارية في كندا، جيوفانا مينغاريلي. نرجو أن تقضوا وقتاً ممتعاً، وإليكم تفاصيل هذه الجلسة.
Good afternoon, esteemed government officials, panelists, and participants. I'm Giovanna Mingarelli, the founder of M&C Consulting, a digital communications and marketing firm working with our partners to quantify and showcase their ESG commitments to employees, stakeholders, and consumers. I am honored and delighted to be here with you today as the moderator for this panel about investing in research, innovation, and its impact on operational excellence. Today, we'll explore themes ranging from how ESG is driving operational excellence to how the nature of work is changing in the next 5 to 10 years. For purposes of this panel, operational excellence can include the efficient use of resources for cost reduction, increased returns on investment, and of course, sustainability, amongst many other things. The Kingdom's Vision 2030 has a goal of shifting its economy away from the oil-based industry towards a more sustainable future that relies on renewable energy. It is based on 3 pillars: a vital society, a thriving economy, and an ambitious nation. According to the Honorable Minister of Investment, Mr. Khaled Al-Fali, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, 2 key parts towards achieving the 2030 goals includes the country's young population, who are ready to turn into a workforce to be reckoned with, along with encouraging women and investing in them as they increasingly join the workforce. Our panel of experts today will cover the Vision 2030 themes as it relates to sustainable research and innovation, and how investing in that impacts all facets of the economy and society. And with that, I am delighted to get started with our first topic. First, we're going to explore the impact of current innovation and R&D and how it affects operational excellence. So my first question will be directed to Dr. Abdulaziz Al-Gaba. So doctor, where do we see the impact of innovation and the latest research and development on operational excellence today?
Thank you, Giovanna. Well, you see, operational excellence practices are closely related to the business of industry and trade. Therefore, the impact of innovation and the latest R&D will continually impact the continuous development in the operational excellence methodologies. So we can see that, or we can see these continuous development, for example, in optimizing existing activities in certain manufacturing process, for example, through digitization, automation, and this is where it helps make required process more effective and more efficient. And while we are speaking of operational excellence and innovation, actually we can't ignore also the role of intellectual property. They are closely related, so the role of intellectual property is in generating more financial and economic values, especially in industrial and cultural fields, through patents, trademarks, copyrights, industrial designs, plant varieties, integrated circuits, and these and with the acquisition of these IP rights, it mainly contribute to the growth and development of innovation and research, and thus allows more entities and more individuals, to benefit, I would say, profitably from their innovation and their related IPs.
Thank you so much. And I would like to turn it over now to you, Dr. Kevin. So artificial intelligence will play a key role in this area. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Certainly. I mean, I think technology in all its manifestations is going to play a key role in this. When I was doing my PhD many decades ago, someone could spend their entire PhD doing one gene sequence, and now a machine can do that in an afternoon. And so the technology, as I say, in all its manifestations is making things faster. But the combination of that technology and AI and automation really is going to change everything. We were looking yesterday at a PCR testing robot that has speeded up the rate of PCR testing 15 times. The automation and the combination of automation with AI is making some tasks that used to take days, weeks, months into things that can be done in hours. And for me, I think that's really exciting because it actually frees up the human beings to do that creative, interesting stuff with the results rather than spending all of their time generating the results. So AI, I think, is going to change everything.
Thank you so much. And Dr. El-Rimi, what is your perspective on this as it relates to your current work with enterprise project management?
Yes, I believe we have first to understand the nature of the innovation so we can decide what are the proper project management to manage that innovation. So actually the innovation nature is associated with ambiguity, uncertainty, and high potential of risk and high potential of failure. Because, and of course, there is no clear requirement for those projects or processes. So actually we have to be innovative in managing innovation. And to do that, we have to excel the journey for the innovation process or projects. That should be, combine of updating the organization or corporate mandates, governance, business processes, and all of that comes together to have, let's say, successful innovation output. So this, we have to keep this in mind as actually the innovation, it's not similar to any operation process. So it's, as I said, we have to be innovating in defining innovation and managing innovation. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And Mr. Mufti, so from your perspective, in your capacity advising the Ministry of Energy and Innovation and Project Management, where do you see the impact of innovation on excellence immediately?
Sure. I don't think today I will add value by just talking about innovation alone, or operation excellence alone, or digital transformation alone. Because these are topics have been established years ago. I'm sure in this crowd there are more people experienced than me on these topics. However, what we are facing today is more challenging and complex problems. Not anymore can be solved by a single topic or a single technology or a single entity. And His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, when he restructured the Ministry of Energy or the energy, what we call it, energy ecosystem, by bringing the entire stakeholders under one umbrella, bringing those dots together, working together, coherent, making sure that these complex problems will be addressed in one version of truth. So, what is the difference happening now? We see the demand for more agile and sustained operation excellence. Not anymore, it's a one-time exercise, then you close the door and you close the books and you leave. No, it needs to sustain and continue because the challenges keep evolving more and more. Also, we start seeing highly motivated workforces who want to come and join the ministry or the energy ecosystem, assuming from day one a key role in the Vision 2030 transformation. So those people, no more they have patience to wait for development and grow and so on. No, from day one I want to know what is my role, how I'm going to contribute to that. Also, we see the value of technology coming aggressively to contribute, otherwise you are out of the formula. So it's not anymore a choice to run your business neglecting the technology or IR4 components, be it artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, analytics, advanced big data, and so on. Name it. And I'm sure everyone witnessing this one way or another. So, in general, I would say these are a must-to-have enablers for forward-coming way of doing business. I would say the future of the business or societies need to do transformation coherently with innovation, operation excellence, and digital transformation.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And so, Dr. Bozeman, Bart, what's your opinion on this matter?
I think you already see the impact of R&D and innovation on operational excellence in our businesses. Our businesses, in a way, are technical assets, infrastructure, technical systems, and you do see them changing. What was shown about the energy transition is not the future, it's happening. So we see the nature of the assets actually changing, and operational excellence on a conventional power plant or operational excellence on a large PV plant, it may have the same name, but it is intrinsically different because the technology is different. So it's really already happening. And by the way, we will need to move from operational excellence on a plant or equipment level to system level, because all of that has to work together. Let's not forget that we have the development of the technologies. We also have an integration challenge. All of these technologies have to be brought together in an energy system that needs to continue working reliably. So operational excellence will also have to play at the system level. But why are we seeing these new technologies? Frankly, for me, to a large extent, this is the result of successful innovation in the past and R&D. Okay, you can say it has been kick-started by subsidies in some countries. Okay, there were privileged market conditions. Definitely, the scale-up, the large-scale deployment is driving costs down, but there's also a lot of technology development inherent in that. Wind turbines are state-of-the-art. Photovoltaic technology is changing every year. New, more efficient technologies are brought to the market, and new ones are being prepared in the lab. So all of this is the result of very successful technical R&D, technology development. If I may end with, I remember when I started in renewables more than 20 years ago, everybody talked about, is this going to work? Is this reliable? Aren't the blades of the wind turbines going to fly off? Isn't this going to create power quality issues on the network? Then 10 years later, the question became, isn't this going to be too expensive? Can we afford it? But today the question is, how fast can we go to 100%? Because technology development has basically brought answers to the first two issues.
Fantastic, thank you. And actually, I'd like to start with you to build on this question. So in the next 5 to 10 years, what are the biggest changes in business and society as a whole that operational excellence will present?
I think today we see the impact on the what we have to operate in an excellent way. I think we will be seeing a strong impact on the how we will do operational excellence. And I think in essence it's related to computing power, but it's not only data analytics and big data. I think the enormous increase of computing power also gives us much better capability to model, physical modeling, to really calculate the behavior of technical systems. We were last week at KAUST where we had our joint innovation days, seeing the supercomputer. I mean, the things you can do today with computing power available today, and imagine what will be available in a few years from now, allows us actually to improve our technical assets to a far larger extent than we did in the past because of our modeling capability. And then on top of that, we will have data analytics, lots of sensors, cheap sensors, so lots of data, and probably the capability to make the equipment itself smart. I always still have this question, Maybe some people in the audience have an answer. Are we just going to collect these tremendous amounts of data from the plants and then have some intelligence in a central setting somewhere at headquarters doing the analytics? Or is the equipment itself going to be smart and have some intelligence embedded? I'll be happy in a way as an asset manager when the gas turbine calls me when it anticipates a problem or a failure in a way. And I think we will see lots of this happening. So the business of being in operational excellence is going to change tremendously.
Thank you. And so I want to bring this back to you, Kevin. So artificial intelligence and beyond, right? The next 5 to 10 years, building on what Bart just shared, what are the biggest changes in business and society as a whole that operational excellence will present?
I think the changes are going to be massive. The way that I describe it is the Industrial Revolution replaced repetitive human muscle power with machine power. And artificial intelligence is going to replace repetitive brain work with artificial digital brain work. So there are many manual jobs that are done today. You know, things like processing fruit, where it's actual human beings who go through the process of picking out the apples that don't quite pass the test. That's something that machines have never been able to do in the past, and now they can. So we're actually looking at a future where manual labor, the manual labor that still exists, could be replaced entirely by machines. And I can look at a utopian future where that means no one needs to spend their time picking rotten apples anymore, and they can spend their time doing more useful things. But I can also imagine a dystopian future where the robots have taken all the jobs. So what are we going to do? I'm a glass half full sort of person. I'm an optimist. And I do believe that the automation and everything else, the operational excellence that comes from it is going to be driving down the costs of doing business. Renewable energy is going to be driving down the costs of doing business. The costs of business are going to come down so far that you could almost imagine a future where everyone can afford everything. If we can find the business models that are going to take advantage of that and ensure equity and distribution of the benefits that flow from that operational excellence that flows from technology, then it could be a very, very bright future.
So I also believe in a bright future. And interestingly, there was a recent report by Deloitte about the two different scenarios, right? In the next 10 years, we could have bots that are called cobots, right? They help us. They lead to greater efficiency in the workplace. It means that people can get paid more and do less. They focus on specialized skills. It really leads to a much more fulsome, harmonious workplace. On the other side, there's a possibility that we could live in a bit of a dystopian society if AI isn't trained the right way, and if we don't build technology the right way to build trust into the technology. It could lead to situations of great protest, situations where the technology is acting contrary to the interests of citizens, governments, and companies combined. And so it really is about building a way to sustainably develop AI so that it's both intelligent and also trustable. Okay, so I would like to now invite yourself, Mr. Mufti, to comment on this question.
If you allow me, I would like to have the crowd participate with us at this moment for this question, if you don't mind. I will just ask one question. Raise your hand if you are doing a work that you don't know why you are doing it. Because there is a survey have been run. I know the facts, okay? There are some facts. There are a lot of people have been engaged in organizations requested to do certain jobs. But truly, sometimes they get questioned. Why you are doing this work? Well, I don't know. I have been told to do it. And internally, if you ask that question, or he asks a question, after a while, okay, I have an answer that I don't know why I'm doing it. It's supposed not to be done. Then after a few years, he have the guts to change. But somehow they told him, if you want to change the status quo, that might affect your career. Just do it as you want. That's what's happening a few years, maybe 2-3 years ago. it's not anymore happening because people, actually I'm engaged in a lot of interviews with headhunting exercise, and I'm surprised to see young generation asking questions when we are offering a job to them, and they're saying, okay, why I'm doing this work? Why you are bringing me to do this role? How this is affecting your visions? So this type of personalities really making a wake-up call. If you want to attract top talents, you really need to be ready for them. Otherwise, they're going to expose you big time. And that's a major change. The people change happening, and it's a fact. You cannot do anything with it unless you change your way of doing business. So definitely we need to link our work and the purpose of existence for your vision and your objective of what you are doing. So if you are a service provider, you need to know what type of service you are doing and what distinguishes you from among the others. What is your competitive advantage? So you know how you want to do the work. And those calls, believe it or not, will create or will trigger something within your organization says, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I shouldn't do it. Maybe I should shut down this. We have been seeing reports left and right, Deloitte, McKinsey, everybody saying when you are adopting operation excellence and now with technology, you can reduce in OpEx, you can increase efficiencies, you can expand, and you can tap into a new business that never been tapped to. So we know all of this is going to happen. However, who has the guts to do it? Operation excellence is not anymore a choice for organizations, either to do or not to do. It's one of your DNA. Either you accept or you don't. Innovation is another thing. I would say always these are two faces for the same coin. You need to have operation excellence and innovation together in order really to start create a difference and do a real transformation within your institute.
Thank you so much. And so building on that, Dr. El-Rimi, what are the biggest challenges, or what are the biggest changes, in business and society in the next 5 to 10 years that you can perceive?
Actually, it should be like a huge change in every aspect, either in society or in business. And actually, you can notice this, you expect this change if you look back 5 or 10 years ago, and you see yourself now, and you see the difference between now and the 10 years or 5 years ago. You see how changes has happened in every aspect in our lives. So in the future, it's clearly that we are moving from, that's let's say unorganized business or unorganized innovation to more organized innovation that will speed, the decision making, will speed the problem solving, and at the same time it will create new solutions for our life. That's in general. If you go specifically, there are many areas for innovation that affect directly our lives. For example, here in Saudi Arabia, we defined now for prioritization for innovation, for the energy and for the future economy, and there is the environment and the IT. So we have many priorities now, but we have to collaborate with the whole ecosystem innovation to define what are the right priorities. At the same time, we can open the area for all innovators to elaborate in their innovation areas and collaborate all of that together with the national priorities.
Fantastic, thank you. And Dr. Al-Gaba, what will the role of intellectual property be in building collaboration with innovators in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I would like to comment on the biggest changes, and I would say that we are moving towards more digital economy and focusing more on technologies such as the fintech, edtech, e-commerce businesses, and this is where we can see more IP or intellectual property generated from these promising technologies. And this this is totally aligned with the Vision 2030, because we've received many uncontrollable factors such as the COVID-19 and so on. So it pushed more of things to be done virtually, such as the meeting and so on. And that pushed more of the public sector regulators, such as the Minister of Finance and so on, to start building on how to work on spending and be more efficient. And these are all been, we lived this, I mean, for the past 2 to 3 years. And we see now more of these entities are adopting such changes, accepting it, where in the past there used to be more resistance to change to these certain type of technologies. So yes, there is a change. It is happening, and we are living it. And I think we can't deny it at all. And we have to accept it. And we have to work more on the concept of change management, to push more of our talents and people to, start adapting such future technologies and so on.
Fantastic, thank you. So, what we've heard so far in this very interesting topic is from intellectual property to artificial intelligence. Combined over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see significant changes in both business and society as it relates to operational excellence and the positive impact, we hope, that those will have as key drivers in growth across both facets of the economy. And so now we're going to move on to a new theme. And so we're going to explore in this next topic how operational excellence and ESG, so environment, social government, work together and across industries and organization to create greater operational excellence. Okay, so we're going to start this question with yourself, Mr. Mufti.
Actually, a few months ago, we witnessed the Saudi Green Initiative and Middle East Green Initiatives, and we know that Ministry of Energy or Energy Ecosystem in KSA is taking a lead locally and globally to contribute to the agenda of environmental and sustainable environment. So, what innovation will do in that regard, and what operation excellence will do in that regard? We are part of the plans, and whatever we do here, it contributes globally. Therefore, a set of initiatives have been identified, and certain focused area, Ministry of Energy and the Energy Ecosystem made available as a roadmap until we achieve our targets that were shared during these two events. I would like to start with some focused area for innovation have been endorsed under the carbon, the hydrogen, the renewable energy, then the hydrocarbons, and under the power. And when we talk about the power, we have the conventional powers and alternative source of energies. So today we have an active program to invite every technology owner, every innovator to come forward, work jointly with the Ministry of Energy and the energy ecosystem entities to develop the required technology and position ourselves in front in regard to this focused area. As a matter of fact, we have been working even with the other government entities to employ the enablers required to make this technology reality. Not to end at that level, on the local side, I'm sure those who are living in Saudi Arabia, they witnessed the practice of behavioral economics or nudging that were exercised by Tershid or Hayat Kafat al-Taqa when they start going through campaigns of driving people behaviors to change toward saving energy and saving environments. So 10 years ago, you don't see anybody talking about these things in KSA. Today, KSA is even in a leading position in these areas. And the platform is open for more and more to come forward and work with us in these topics.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Dr. Al-Gaba, did you have thoughts you would like to share on operational excellence as it relates to ESG?
Well, it's all connected, and I would say that these are all integrated with operational excellence somehow to ensure the effectiveness of operational excellence and how it works. And it's all about the ecosystem, and this is part of what we are doing in the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, is to make sure all these elements are connected and streamlining the whole ecosystem from IP to innovation to getting the proper policies and regulations with the proper mandates to regulate the whole environment. We are pushing for that, and we've been doing that for the past 3 years with the collaboration with our internal stakeholders in the kingdom and with our, external stakeholders through the WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization.
Thank you so much. And Dr. El-Rimi, would you like to elaborate?
For sure, I will elaborate on governance perspective. Actually, here in Saudi Arabia, there are a huge improvement and restructuring for the whole RDI ecosystem. For example, there is the Supreme Committee for RDI. It's actually this, the president of that is the Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And this is the umbrella for the whole innovation of Saudi Arabia now. And under that, there is the new authority, the RIDIA, the Research and Development and Innovation Authority, which is now under establishment and will manage the whole innovation priorities and spread that through all the key players of innovation and the executor and performance of innovation. Example of that is CACS, King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology. CACS itself, it's restructured, now is through restructuring to execute the innovation properly, and at the same time make the governance of the innovation in proper way, and try to make it easier and easy to reach the commercialization and the business.
Thank you. And Bart, so what might we draw from ESG as it relates to R&D, in particular around water and energy?
My apologies, I'm a little bit at the risk of repeating part of what I said earlier today, but there's a link with operational excellence and there's a link with R&D. Minimizing the use of resources is for me an essential part of operational excellence. It's one of the things which operational excellence is about. And you do it to some extent to reduce cost, but you do it, of course, also for its environmental benefits, and reducing environmental impact is an important element within overall operational excellence. So that is key. And then if you look at what is needed for this energy transition, part of ESG, and I don't want to narrow it down to energy transition, but let's focus on it here for the example. The energy efficiency part is really a very important part of it. We all talk about the PV and everything, and we need it. We talk about the hydrogen, and we need it. But we don't talk enough about what can be done in reducing energy consumption, energy efficiency, in households, in industry, in transport, and also system integration. So there, I believe, R&D still has a role to play. Actually, on all four elements, which are maybe the four basic elements you need for the energy transition: energy efficiency, cheap renewables for electrification, system integration, and green gases for whatever is too hard to abate, with electricity. Actually, on all four, you still need a lot of R&D and innovation, because both, as you know very well, are not exactly the same.
Thank you so much. And finally, so Kevin, are there any particular areas that we haven't touched on yet as it relates to this question of operational excellence and ESG for innovation that you would like to highlight and share?
Yeah, I've got a very simple view of things. I mean, ESG really is talking about acting responsibly, fairly, and properly. And if you're not acting responsibly, fairly, and properly, then you cannot be excellent. So operational excellence requires that you act responsibly, fairly, and properly, and ESG is really just a way of codifying that as required behavior.
Thank you. Yes, the ethics of ESG and building sustainable businesses and organizations in society, very important. And so this actually is a very nice segue into our third topic, which is sustainability as a driver of innovation. So if we consider Vision 2030, right, in the context of this conversation and the very ambitious goals of that vision, you know, this question is really exploring why is sustainability a key driver of the innovation that we're striving towards. So we'll start with you, Kevin.
Yeah, with interest declared, I work for a university that was founded on 4 research pillars of food, water, energy, and environment. And you can't come up with a better umbrella for sustainability than those 4 areas. And so I'm fortunate to work in a university where the development of technologies in these areas is really at the cutting edge, worldwide at the cutting edge. And I'm really fascinated that even during the course of my career, I've seen sustainability move from being an unaffordable luxury to being described as a human necessity to actually becoming a commercial opportunity. I mean, so some of the work that's being done at Kaus, the conversion of crude oil to chemicals in a single reaction vessel, that's a huge opportunity in terms of increasing the value of oil without having to burn the stuff. I can look at our desert agriculture, where we have scientists who are growing tomatoes in the desert using 95% less fresh water than you would normally use through a combination of plant biology and also saltwater-based air conditioning. So just think about the economics. They can grow fabulous food in the desert using virtually no fresh water. Another one, and you wouldn't have thought of this, we are in the process of building the world's biggest coral nursery. We are producing coral at an industrial scale. And so this is about being able to repopulate reefs around the world. So it's literally saving the planet, but there are people who will pay large amounts of money to have this done, including insurance companies. So I look at the technologies that are coming through that really are things that are going to change the world for the better in terms of reducing emissions and more effective use of fossil fuels and renewable energy and capturing carbon dioxide. And every single one of them has an underlying business model that you can imagine will be monetizable at some point in the future. And I do think that we here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are in a position to be able to take a lead position in that developing the commercial aspects of sustainability, which are driven by technology that's been done here at the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, right here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So I think we're on the cusp of a dramatic sustainability revolution that will be driven as much by the private sector as it's being driven by politicians and policymakers.
Fantastic, how exciting. And so, Dr. Al-Gaba, what for you, so building on what Kevin just shared with us, what for you will be part of that sustainability revolution?
Well, you see, sustainability becomes a very well-known word, especially nowadays, and it comes at the heart of our Vision 2030. working on all the more than 90 to 93 objectives that's been cascaded from the vision. It all goes to directly or indirectly to sustainability. So we're looking at sustainability on financial sustainability, economic sustainability, social sustainability. What we are doing, and I'm sorry I get you back always to the IP, but is to to push for more of these patents and IP activities to get the country to a more industrialized and to be aligned also with what the vision actually mentioned and cascaded. So yes, it is getting a heat nowadays, and I think that most of the public sector, in collaboration with the private sector and the academia sector, they are working collaboratively to push for more sustainable infrastructure, sustainable industry, sustainable and socially and financially.
Thank you so much. And so this is all very inspiring. And so I'd actually like to transition the question slightly with yourself, Mr. Mufti. So what do you think is potentially slowing down this sustainability revolution? What are some of the obstacles to innovating in this area?
Well, I think we are the driver of accelerating sustainability, not slowing down sustainability. And allow me here really to give a very simple explanation, because sustainability from our point of view as an energy ecosystem has two sides of it. First, sustain the demand on the hydrocarbon, the oil and gas. At the same time, we are responsible care. We want to make sure that we have sustainable environment. So in the first part, we have a program, or we have an organization, Oil Sustainability Program, and its key role is to find all innovation, R&D, that bring more applications to the hydrocarbon products or materials, polymer tiles, polymer plates to substitute the wood plates and save the environments. And at the same time, as we are trying to expand on using these polymers, now the question comes, what would happen to the carbon that gets generated out of it? This is where the other side of it, we have carbon capture program, very ambitious program, huge program, and all been driven by research and development and we are sponsoring quite a good number of work in this regard, making sure we have the entire life cycle of the carbon emission from A to Z, fully managed, controlled by injecting or bringing every technology. Today, the technology is very expensive, and we are working very hard to bring the cost down by bringing more visible, more economical, viable solutions. And we are working globally and locally in these two agendas, making sure that our economy is growing on the hydrocarbon. At the same time, our responsibility toward the globe is being applied as we progress. So the only thing what is required really is the people who have the ambitions to come and put their hands and work on these agendas. Scarcity of the resources who are really having personal interest in this area might be the risk known to everybody. And however, from organization and government perspective, I think the platform is open for everybody who is interested to come and participate. So I will summarize this with the people readiness to come and start work on these activities is the key challenge.
Fantastic, thank you. And Bart, would you like to build on that?
Well, I think my colleagues have been very complete already. I don't see a big bottleneck in the R&D part of the development chain itself. There may be one, and I have some experience with, in the step between R&D and large-scale deployment, where you have to go through not so small pilot phase, first applications, demo projects, where you hit lots and lots of other constraints related to regulation. In IT, we heard it in the session on digital, you have the concept of sandbox. Sometimes I wonder if for some of these more physical innovations, we wouldn't also need something like a regulatory sandbox in which you would not be obliged to meet every single criteria for a first project, and then be able to scale it up and then, of course, contribute to sustainability with it. CCS is important, but CCS, keep in mind, it's the second wave of CCS we're seeing now. I was in the first wave 10 years ago, and we never succeeded in doing a very large one because of hitting these constraints. Now it's coming back. But I also have a lot of sympathy for what you say about people, and I think we should not underestimate how people, skilled people, talent can become a constraint and a roadblock in what we want to do. Because not only there's a lot of projects to be done, there's a lot of investment projects to be done, there's a lot of new assets to be operated, there's also all this R&D and development work to be done. So that requires an amount of talent which is towards rather technical, scientific, technical roles, which we really should encourage, that the best of the best go to make a career, make a contribution to the world in these fields.
Thank you very much. And to close out this question, I'd like to bring it over to you, Dr. Al-Rimi, to share with us, how do you feel sustainability as a driver of innovation can be accelerated, right? So we've explored the potential obstacles, we've explored the general themes of why it's important. How can we accelerate it?
Actually, we have to first to believe in innovation. That's way will put more effort and actually more capital on that innovation. In that time, at the same time, we have to close the gap between the R&D exercises and the market. In that way, we can accelerate the innovation output. So now, without a clear linkage and clear integration between the market and the innovation business and ecosystem, the gaining benefit of that innovation will take longer time. So closing that gap between the market and the innovation ecosystem will accelerate the gaining benefit of that innovation and make it sustainable. Besides that, as I said before, the whole ecosystem should work together to solve that issue and make it sustainable by having more, as I said, capital, especially the venture capital, that believe in innovation and know the nature of innovation with that high risk, at the same time with the high impact. As we see now, as I said, many changes in our lives has been affected by these new innovations, but that cannot be done, or that didn't happen in just in a short time and very clear process. There was some entities or some people has believed in that innovation and support that innovation to reach to the market and everyone get benefit of that.
Thank you. And Kevin, you would like to comment on this
as well?
I
just wanted to make a comment. I was always struck by a quote by John Maynard Keynes, which went along the lines of, it's not that difficult to get people to adopt new ideas. The really hard part is to get people to let go of old ones. And that's one of the biggest obstacles to innovation. And again, as an optimist who's been in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for 4 years, the appetite for change in this place right now is astonishing. And that again is an opportunity to be able to do things in new ways, but be able to stop doing old things in old ways is actually the opportunity that we should all be striving for.
The American sociologist Buckminster Fuller said something very similar, right? You don't eradicate or destroy existing institutions, you make them obsolete, right? You just build forward better. Okay, so that actually transitions really nicely into our next theme, which is the nature of work. Very exciting. It's a very, very popular theme right now. We are going to explore, starting with you, Dr. Al-Rimi, how does innovation impact the way we conduct our jobs in the next 5 to 10 years or beyond? So it's very broad, very exciting theme. Let's go.
Yeah, actually we already talked about some of these aspects and how has changed our work and even our society and our life. But as we said before, you know, the innovation and unpredictable, and of course the output of innovation unpredictable, and everything in our life is speeding now. In our work, everything will be changed based on that. Before, the innovation was an auxiliary process. It was, let's say, make it a fun process. But now it is a must. So that means everyone who is not adopting innovation and try to work around that will not be, you know, will be with that, will not be accepted in the new way of managing our work. So, of course, there are many and huge changes, and of course, many aspects will be changed. Example for that is we're gonna be talking from my experiences, the project management way of project has been changed. It's never done. It's happened before. It's like in a waterfall way, but now we trying to adopt new methodologies of project management. For example, like especially in CACS, we have many innovation projects. So we try to change the normal way of managing projects and try to adopt new innovative ways, as I said, based on the nature of innovation with that uncertainty. So we give them more space, we give the project team more space, but at the same time we are waiting from them to be you know, giving more quality outputs than before. It's not normal just driving a normal product. So as I said, there are many changing in every aspect, but it's really, it's not very clear how that will be defined based on the innovation nature.
Thank you very much. And in the interest of time, so we have about 5 minutes left to the panel because it's been so exciting and informative. And so I'm going to request that each of the panelists take 30 seconds to respond to this question, and then we'll move into closing remarks. Okay? Kevin, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'll talk specifically about SMEs. Vision 2030 has an objective of increasing GDP contribution from SMEs from 20 to 35%. That's a huge jump. The only way we're going to do that is through innovation. We at KAUST are putting in place a fourth industrial revolution capability demonstration centre so we can bring SMEs in, so they can find new ways of being able to do the things that they do. Not asking them to change their product or anything else, just asking them to look at different ways of manufacturing, and I think that's going to change the SME base in this country.
Fantastic, thank you. And Dr. Al-Gaba?
Well, definitely it impacts us in one way or another, and on how we work. And I would also agree with Dr. Rimi when he talked about the teams, and so we need to give them more space, you know, to have better and more innovative methodologies and models, and this is what we are doing right now, giving the teams and the people around us and getting them out of their comfort zone, you know, to be more innovative, to think of ideas out of the box. I think this will have greater impact on the innovation, greater impact on how work should be done. And yes, we will be moving, as we said earlier, to a more high-tech technologies, cyberspace, artificial intelligence, robotics, and so on.
Thank you so much. And over to you, Mr. Mufti.
In Ministry of Energy today, we believe that there is a problem. We call it Technology Death Valley, where there is a lot of R&D happening. There is a lot of industrial demands of solving problems, but the bridge is not there. This is why our work environment is designed to embedding the discovery process within the way that we are doing business. So everybody is always encouraged to discover what's going on. Our environment is enabling people to raise problems and propose solutions. Our environment is telling everyone, come forward in order to grow and innovate. So we believe in innovation as part of our DNA at the moment, and as a matter of fact, there are a lot of near future examples will be announced. We're driven mainly by these type of individuals and the process that's established.
Fantastic, thank you. And so, Bart, moving into the last piece of this question, so we're talking about the nature of work and the future of work. As well, however, what are some of the roadblocks, right, to potentially building out innovation and the future of work, the implementation of the new systems for future of work, as well as some potential solutions to those problems?
Yeah, I think it's really about large-scale deployment, fast deployment. Actually, it's captured well by the slogan here of Operational Excellence, Enabling Innovation. We have to enable innovation and to bring things which come out of R&D to fast, large-scale deployment. We need it. And that is only possible by collaboration. It's easy to say, but it's only possible by partnerships between the different relevant actors. We are trying to do our bit, amongst others, with KAUST University, with whom we have a program. But it's not only with the R&D institutes, it's also with OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, but also startups. Because we have to keep in mind that maybe 10 years ago, a lot of the development work was happening in large labs. But now, actually, a lot of the innovation and development is happening in startups, in an ecosystem, in a much more agile, fast way. And we also want to interconnect because they need a path to market. And we can deliver that path to market. And we also have an interest in being there to make, as soon as we can, in the best possible way, use of these new technologies. So for me, the roadblock is really in bridging the gap between, you could say, the lab and the field in both directions, connecting them, really. And that is about collaboration.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, this has been a fantastic panel. I want to thank all of you for this terrific discussion. And 10 seconds, any final words that you'd like to share with the audience, starting with you, Bart, and then moving back way towards me?
You know, where would we be without vaccines? Where would we be without R&D? Delivering vaccines? And what if we can have the same efficiency in dealing with the other challenges we face?
I would say, again, as a Saudi Arabia, we have been the leader in the energy sector, and we are committed to continue the leader in the energy sector by innovation, operation excellence, and digital transformation.
I would say innovation is not a revolutionary process. It could be incremental and development process. Everyone in any organization can have a great idea, affect the organization. Don't keep it in your mind. Try to share it with your colleagues and your leaders.
I think we need to focus more on streamlining the whole ecosystem and also to focus more on the concept of innovation centers. whether it's technology or industrial. And here we need to make sure that the right players are within that model, the market players, the principal, and the academia/researcher. And also to capitalize on stimulating more of the national programs that push for more entrepreneurs, such as the NTDP, the National Technology Development Programs.
Yeah, I look at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and I see all the pieces that we need. We've got incredibly supportive leadership, we've got world-class technology, we've got world-class entrepreneurs, we've got world-class companies. If we can combine these together in the way that everyone here wants to, then I think we'll be an unbeatable force.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our panel discussion, and so grateful for everyone being here. Have a wonderful afternoon.
شكرا لرئيسة هذه الجلسة، شكرا لكل المتحدثين فيها. أنوه فقط أن الجلسة القادمة وهي الجلسة الأخيرة من الجلسات الحوارية لهذا المؤتمر ستبدأ مباشرة بعد هذه الجلسة، ولكن أدعو إلى المسرح الآن الأستاذة منال الماضي، وهي مديرة إدارة تطوير الشراكات في المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة، لتقديم التكريم إلى المتحدثين في هذه الجلسة. مع كل الشكر والتقدير والتحية، هذا التكريم لنائب الرئيس التنفيذي للخدمات المشتركة في الهيئة السعودية للملكية الفكرية الدكتور عبدالعزيز القباع. مع كل الشكر والتحية والتقدير، التكريم لنائب الرئيس للابتكار في جامعة الملك عبدالله للعلوم والتقنية السيد كيفن كولين. مع كل التحية والشكر والتقدير، التكريم للمشرف العام على إدارة المشاريع المؤسسية في مدينة الملك عبدالعزيز للعلوم والتقنية المهندس زياد الريمي. ومع كل الشكر والتحية والتقدير، التكريم للمستشار في وزارة الطاقة المهندس أيمن مفتي. الشكر والتحية أيضاً لرئيس قسم التكنولوجيا في أكوا باور في السعودية السيد بارت بوزمانز. أدعو ضيوف قبل الصورة الجماعية، التكريم لمديرة هذه الجلسة وهذا الحوار، الرئيس التنفيذي والشريك المؤسس في شركة M&C الاستشارية في كندا السيدة جوفانا مينغاريلي. كل الشكر والتحية والتقدير لإدارتها هذه الجلسة، وأدعو ضيوف هذه الجلسة المتحدثين لالتقاط صورة جماعية تذكارية تخليداً لهذه المناسبة. نحييهم جميعاً ونشكرهم على كل ما أثرون به من محتوى في هذه الجلسة، والشكر للأستاذة منال الماضي.